Hey folks, welcome back. We're not on the farm, we're on a different farm. We had a little emergency to take care of. Our neighbor needed some help, so we'll show you what we had to do. Now our neighbor that we go help move cattle with, he took a nasty spill off of his horse probably over a month ago, and he's been in the hospital ever since. But the good news is he's ready to come home here in the next few days. So I got the call to help with a wheelchair ramp for the house because he's not going to be able to walk for like another 6 weeks or so. So we had to be able to get him in and out of the house, or the family did. So they asked me to come help build a wheelchair ramp, and we'll show you what we did here. Kelly and I came yesterday and framed this up, and then my neighbor Carl come to help me this morning because we had to wait for the lumber yard to open for the plywood. So we went and got the plywood, and he helped me muscle those big 3/4 pieces of plywood around. And then Kelly yesterday laid these bricks in here, and we sanded them in real good for a transition for the wheelchair to come off the sidewalk. So I think it's going to work real well. This is only a temporary ramp, otherwise we would have used different materials, but we went on the cheap. Even the 3/4 OSB was $26 a sheet, but that was better than the $67 a sheet they wanted to charge us for the other plywood. And then we just picked up some aluminum here, and then I took it to one of the shops downtown and had them put a little crease in it for this transition so the wheelchair can go over it. But we got her done. We added a little temporary 2x4 here across, so when he comes out the door, he's no chance he's going to roll off the step here. Now, if you've never done a wheelchair ramp, the glide slope here is basically a 1/12. So for every inch you have in elevation, you need to go a foot in length. So we had an 8-inch step right here, so we had to go 8 feet on the ramp. So that's the recommended ADA requirements for wheelchair ramp. Also has to be a minimum of 36 inches wide, but we just went as wide as the flower bed, which was like 50 inches. So he'll have plenty of room to come around here and get up this ramp. So we got her all done. We're going to head home and do some stuff back at the homestead. All right, we are back at home. We got some stuff we want to do. We've been having some really cloudy days, which have been nice. The wind hasn't been terrible, but we've been getting a lot of rain. But while we have these favorable conditions for planting out in the garden, I want to get my transplants, most of them, taken out of here and planted, because with these kind of overcast days, it gives them a little break. Not that they need to be hardened off from this greenhouse, because they get plenty of heat, plenty of cold, plenty of sun already. But I don't want them to get a lot of crazy shock, because if we planted them out on a really hot day, they might stress a little bit. But this will give them a chance to get acclimated a little bit before they get hit with the sun and get some roots going. So hopefully the shock is not as much. We've already planted out some stuff in the garden, and we'll show you that when we get out there. And then let's get in the greenhouse and see what we're going to get after. I came in and tidied up the greenhouse a little bit, made sure we swept everything out because we had some dirt going from all the up potting and everything. Kelly has potted her hanging baskets, which she's going to eventually put over there by her chicken coop and other places. And then she's still got some flowers going in here. This is our peppers that are coming back to life, and then a couple of our tomatoes. Don't know if those two are going to make it, but that's all right because we've got more. So all of our peppers and tomatoes over here. We're probably going to go ahead and go with the peppers. There's a couple tomatoes that we could probably come close to going out, but we're going to let these keep going. We're going to let the watermelon and the cantaloupe keep going. But all this bigger stuff you see here, we're going to go ahead and get it out in the garden. The broccoli is really leggy for some reason. I don't know why, because it's got plenty of sun in here. But the celery we're going to leave in here for a while. And the dill we can probably plant out. So let's get this stuff out in the garden. We've looked at the extended forecast all the way into the 1st of June. And we have, there's no freeze coming up supposedly. So it looks like we may be in the clear. So hopefully that's the case. And we don't get a big freeze out here in the garden and lose everything. I think we're going to roll the dice. We've got all the onions mulched the other day. So that was a project that I was really glad to get done. I was tired of weeding the onions. So they're looking really nice. That's a really good row of onions. We've got 3 different varieties, red, yellow, and white. And very impressed with the bulbs that we put in this year. We're getting much better success than we did with the little plants that just really look sickly. And then the other night we came out here, we planted our zucchini because it was a nice night to do so. I was out here till right at dark. And then down here on the end we've got collards. Joe, we planted your collards out. They're looking really good. We're going to be eating collards here pretty soon. We'll be able to start trimming some of that up. And then we've got our slicing cucumbers here. These are the long green striped cucumbers. And then Kelly took the rest of our onion bulbs and just threw them in the ground here. We're covering them with mulch to see if they'll come up that way. That way we don't have to plant them the way we did this year, which is much more labor intensive. We can lay the mulch down and just put the onions in underneath the mulch. And then we have a little spot down here we can put a little something. Also need to come in here and shorten these drip lines. I want to make them back 1 post so we have plenty of turnaround room out here and move around room. So we're going to shorten those. I got to do that for most of them down here. You can see we've had a pretty good withdrawal on our weed seed bank here. It's still just a hair too muddy to get the tiller in here and take care of these middles. But don't be alarmed. This stuff will all be gone before long. You see the mulch is doing its job. But as soon as we can get in here, we can. I have come through with a hoe, and the taller specimens I've just knocked down, especially the lamb's quarter, because when it gets big, it gets woody, and then it's hard to take care of. But this will be looking real good before you know it. We're not worried about it. I will show you our problem weed over here in the other corner. This is the area we have the problem weed in here. And we've had it every year, so I'm going to do my best this year to get rid of it. We've already sprayed it. You can see it's starting to yellow. Hopefully it's going to die. I was told it's morning glory, but at my neighbor's yesterday, she called it bindweed. So I'm going to look up bindweed and make sure the glyphosate will kill it. But I've spot sprayed all of this. We need to get rid of this because this stuff is a menace. It comes right up through the mulch. It doesn't care, and it's rooted really, really deep. And coming through and hoeing this stuff does absolutely no good. But it's on its way out. We're going to plant this row today, so we don't have to mess with any of that stuff. So we've got our little bench out here. I love this thing. 1, it keeps my knees out of the mud, and 2, I can use the handles on the sides to stand up. So if you've got a back that hurts after doing a lot of this stuff, I highly recommend one of these benches. So I'm going to go get some plants and start laying them out. We're going to do our cabbage and stuff like that in this row. If you've never planted in mulch before, you just pull the mulch back till you reach the dirt. Dig you whatever size hole you need in the dirt. We'll pop that out of our cup, put it down in there, firm the soil around the existing soil that it has, and then we bring the mulch back around the plant and kind of support the leaves with it. That way when the wind blows, it's not blowing it all around. The mulch around the outside kind of holds the leaves together. So that's what we're doing. That's what it looks like when we're done. Got one more to do. Got all of our cabbage planted. We got red cabbage on the end, 3 plants of that. And then we have 5 regular green cabbage. So let's go in the greenhouse and see what we want next. When you're digging these holes, once you get down to the dirt, I like digging some of the dirt up and then mixing it with some of this mulch on the top just to loosen it up. Look at that beautiful black soil that we got. Just gorgeous. Plenty of moisture in there. We won't have to water these things in at all. But just mix some of that in. Makes for a real good planting mix. So we got our broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, and our 2 types of cabbage all planted. Now the outer row I'm going to put all of our peppers and any other smaller items because the walk path on the outside is only half as big as these middles. So we want to put something out there that's fairly compact. And then this second row, we're going to put, I think, an acorn squash on this end, butternut squash on that end, and then we'll do our 2 watermelons and our cantaloupe in between that. And those will be spaced out at least probably 16 feet apart because the squash here in our garden goes crazy. If you let it go, it'll grow from here, clear out, and start climbing up the fence over there. So we'll try to keep the vines in the row, but 16 feet will be great on that. And then once we have all that planted, it'll just be odds and ends going on. So that's about all my back is going to tolerate today after doing that wheelchair ramp last night and this morning. So I think the next thing I'm going to do is going to come down here and do a final thinning on our peas. That's what our peas look like after their final thinning. I leave them about 3 inches apart or so, and that'll be fine. They're starting to get tendrils on them, so they'll start climbing up this trellis pretty soon. If they fall over to the other side, I just kind of lean them over and help them out. Well, we got our other variety done now. So not today, but we're going to come back through probably tomorrow with some mulch. We'll probably use some of the store-bought cedar mulch because I am all out of our homemade mulch. And we'll lay it in here where this bare ground is now that they're up real good. And we'll kind of push it against the peas to lay them kind of over on the trellis. If we don't get them going on the trellis, pretty soon they'll start grabbing on each other, and then it's harder to get a good uniform growth on the trellis. So once we do that, this end down here will be done. We have a little bit left here, but we'll figure out what'll go in there. The tomatoes we're going to put back on this same row they were in last year. The tomatoes really didn't have a chance last year between the 2 freezes, so they didn't really take a lot of nutrients out of the soil. They are heavy feeders, but they really didn't do much of anything last year. So we're going to replant them in this row here. We'll do a different spacing. We won't put them in the same areas they were last year. And then we'll just reuse this trellis instead of pulling it out and moving it. There's really no need. Well, I'm excited. It's starting to look like a garden now. I'll be even more excited once I can rototill the middles here and it won't look so unsightly. But really getting my green thumb throbbing doing this. Glad to get back out here and get the hands in the dirt and get things planted. Well, just the thought of what that's going to look like in a few weeks has got me energized. I cannot wait, folks. All right, we got some stuff cleaned out of here. We can consolidate some of these trays now so we're not watering so many trays. We'll get these peppers taken care of tomorrow. We'll probably wait a little bit on the tomatoes, maybe another 4 or 5 days on some of those. But things are looking up out here. Now tomorrow, if I can get that stuff planted early enough, I'm probably going to work on getting some better electricity out here to the greenhouse. Right now, all we have is an extension cord bringing our juice out here. You can see it here. So what I'm going to do is similar to what I did to the chicken coop. I'm going to run some Romex and bring some actual Romex and some conduit across here to be well protected. I'll put a box in here, a junction box, and then we can even add some lights up in the top to where we can see out here at night. I'll put a switch over here by the door. We'll put a plug here for the new fan that's going to go in this hole right here. And then we'll run a plug over for the heater on the other wall over there. So that'll be a lot nicer here in the greenhouse when we get that done. So now that we're done with the garden stuff, let's show you some updates that Kelly got done over the weekend. So this mint has exploded this last week. Chocolate mint. Makes really good tea if you haven't tried that. It's really good. That's what we use it for. Look at our wild cherry blooming here. Beautiful blooms. The bees were all over this last weekend. There's another one over there. The fruit trees are still doing well. Kelly came through over the weekend and added mulch to her beds around the chicken coop. And she's also planted her new annuals over here. She plants, I believe it's rosemary and some other stuff because it's good for the bugs. It repels bugs, I guess. The roses are doing really well. Ruby, those chickens do not need to be healed or herded. They are just fine. But she got it done all the way around here. And then another thing we did is it's time for the guineas to come out. So we made a door over here in the hospital bay is what we call it. But it's also a grow out pen. But we put a little door here for the guineas. And I'll crack it, get them going now that I'm home and can pay attention to what's going on. So we'll give them a chance to roam out here a little bit. Wow, look at this thing starting to show blossoms over here. This is pretty cool. Got our tangerine sky rose planted over here next to the windmill tower. So it's going to climb up this windmill tower here in this corner. Kelly put the wheel over here also. Got a couple weeds that snuck up against the bricks. We'll have to pull those out. They found a little crack to get through. Hi, Cat. Cat's telling you hi, everybody. The grass is really going crazy, but it's been too wet to mow. So it's going to get real high, and we're going to have to dump the bag about every pass. Going to be nuts. Now this area here against the barn, I need to run over with the bush hog because that's a little bit much for our little rototiller to till. Because I got to till about a 4-foot wide swath here for Kelly's sunflowers again. It's a difficult decision to come out here and bush hog this down because I want the wildflowers to grow. But we can't let those crazy weeds get too tall. So about the time I need to bush hog this is when my flowers will be up. Over here by the barn, I've been waiting for this to happen. We finally got enough water where this ground is finally settling. If you remember, we added these 2 hydrants this last year, and this was all the dirt that we had left over. We had to bury all this 5 feet deep. So as we were filling in, we had extra dirt, and I knew better. I just left it right there because I knew we'd need it. So as this starts happening, we'll just bring this dirt over, run the tractor in the trench, and pack it back down. We've already done a bunch on the other side over there. I have one more hole over across the driveway. Got muddy, slimy the other day. But this here has already been caved and filled in. But you can see we've only done to here. So this caved in. It's about 2 feet deep. So we'll throw some dirt in there. The driveway was fairly well packed. I did that real slow. So, and some of this has already been done. But little by little, we'll get it filled back in as it settles. Well, why don't we just get the tractor out and fill these holes in? Might as well do it now.
Ruby! Ruby!
Can only do so much with a tractor, then you got to get out the rake. Well, we got it mostly leveled out. We've got a few little whoop-de-doos out here in the yard, but those were here before we dug the trench. And we'll probably have to do this a couple more times as it settles in, but we're getting there. Kelly put all of her flowers in her little trailer, and she pulls it in the garage at night and then backs it out here to harden them off during the day. Gotta love a woman that can make a lawn look like this. Alright, Kelly's outside finishing up the lawn. I'm going to come in here and stir us up something for dinner. So, hope you enjoyed hanging out with us today. I enjoyed hanging out with you. So come back and see us here on Mark Kelly Farm, where the content's always free. Come check us out and share us with a friend. And give us a like, because that helps the algorithm. Love you guys.